I'm back in the COVID closet, the regular closet of the Emil Guillermo program, Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. I am the aforementioned Emil Amok. Emil Guillermo, Emil Amok to you. Welcome. I couldn't wait. I had to jump the gun. I had to be with you after a couple. Well, I guess it's been about a week when we were in beautiful Las Vegas. I mean, it is beautiful, really, when you consider the proximity to the mountains. You're in the desert. That's the unfortunate part because it's hot, really hot. Another 100 plus degree day there. Here in California, it's going to be like that tomorrow where I am. So it's really not that much different, but I don't know, you've got different kinds of rock down there in Las Vegas. It's got the red rock. You got it's really pretty. And when the weather is right, when it's not too hot, and they say the fall is better, it's really a delightful place to be. And if you can, control your instinct to gamble or do anything. I mean, a lot of people like to go to Vegas because of all the sin stuff. But, I've been going to Vegas for a long time, and I just like to appreciate its place as a gathering spot. A lot of people like to gather there. The airports, you get flights to Vegas all the time, like Oahu, right? The gathering place. So Las Vegas is fun for that because then people can find their own fun. So I was there for essentially a convention of comedians, and that was fun. And I just think that it's a perfect place because you all just come together. All right, so great, had a good time in Vegas, but as you can tell, I was on spottily. Had to do it from my phone, and now I'm coming to a point where we're going through some major changes. So, for example, if you want to find our columns, the columns will no longer be, the new ones at least, will no longer be on the AALDEF website. I'm putting them on. I'm putting them on Substack. So you'll see them on Substack if you go to substack.com/@EmilAmok. There you go, Substack. They're on the lower third, substack.com/@EmilAmok. You'll find Emil Amok's newsletter, and I'll put all my columns that I would have written on the AALDEF blog. They'll be right there. You'll see them. They'll be there for you. And so that will be there. See, and here's the AALDEF blog, right? The AALDEF blog. My penultimate column on the AALDEF blog is on Vincent Chin, Ronald Liebman's Vincent Chin and Conquering the Enduring Hate Against Asian Americans. Posted yesterday. Go read it. Interesting column talking about maybe it wasn't my very first column, but one of the first columns since I've been writing on the AALDEF blog since 2010. In 2012, I spoke to Ronald Ebens. And who's Ronald Ebens, you ask? Ebens is the killer of Vincent Chin. And Ebens never served any time. And after 30 years, I wanted to talk to him. So I finally did in 2012. That column I linked to there in the blog, and you can read it. And that was probably my best column. Well, I don't want to say my best, but it was the column that went viral. So I have one more post that I'm going to put on the AALDEF blog here on the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. And then you can go back and get these columns there. I think they're going to keep them on there. And they'll be housed there. They've been there since 2014, so 10 years of Guillermo Emil Amok columns. I wrote about Biden, AAPI voters. They liked Biden, but when they switched to Harris, when the Democrats switched to Harris, AAPI voters were all over Harris. They love Harris. So I talk about that in my September 24th column. And then, of course, I talk about Shohei Ohtani. And I've talked about him for the last couple of days because Shohei Ohtani is the guy, right? He's like the Asian American image. Oh, correction. Emil, he's an Asian in America. Yes, I know he's an Asian in America, not an Asian American. But what the hell? We'll claim him. Any guy with a 34.5-inch bat, we're going to claim him because he is the epitome of Asian masculinity. Shohei Ohtani swinging that 34.5-inch bat. Love him. Read the column on the AALDEF blog. And then on September 22nd, I wrote about Kamala's gun. You know, did she brag? She didn't really brag, but she said, hey, I got a gun. I got a gun, right? So she got a gun, and we talk about her gun. I think it's great that she has a gun, right? But what's great about her having the gun is the law that makes her a badass. And I go into that. It's the murder law, the homicide law in California. When you can shoot, when you cannot shoot. And I talk about my problems with that because frankly, if you have a gun, you have the right to shoot, but you also have the right to be careful, to be responsible. And if you're not responsible, you don't get a mulligan. And you don't get a blanket forgiveness if you shoot the wrong person. What are you talking about, Emil? Well, the law says if an intruder comes into your home, you have a right to shoot to kill. A little too aggressive, I think. A little too aggressive. What if the person coming into your house happens to be your spouse or a friend or a relative? Anyone, not an intruder, but you're surprised. You shoot to kill automatically. If you've been victimized by that law, you know it's a crummy law that makes all gun owners into hard ass badasses. Because the state says shoot away, fire away. I think that should be curtailed. I explained that in that column. So all that's in the AALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. One more post tomorrow on October 1st. And then we move. And then we move to Substack. Okay. We move to Substack. Give you a picture of Substack. We go here. And at Substack, go to substack.com/@EmilAmok and subscribe to Emil Amok's newsletter. Easy enough, right? And then if you're going to the AALDEF blog to get, your dose of Emil, there you can go to Substack and get the new Emil Amok. And we got a lot to talk about. Like we got Vance and Walz going at it. Vance and Walz going at it Tuesday night. And I won't be writing about it on Wednesday, but I'll be writing about it on Substack. So go on Substack and subscribe. And all the great things that you liked in the AALDEF blog, you'll find there in Substack, Emil Amok's newsletter. Go to substack.com/@EmilAmok, EMILAMOK. All right. So that's That's like one. And then if you want me to read something, I know. I don't mean to get too complicated here, but I guess I'm getting complicated. I mean, Substack for the readers, but say, I kind of miss Emil not reading his column. And I kind of, yeah, and we got something for you. Go to Patreon.com, Patreon, Patreon.com/Emil Amok. And I will read my column on video, like now, and you can get that there. You can also have access to all my live, all the stuff that I'm giving away free right now on YouTube. I'll be moving to Patreon. I'll be doing shorter things on YouTube, like maybe 10-minute live sessions. But Emil Amok's Takeout will be on Patreon. And that will be the only way to get it. On Emil Amok's Patreon site, right? So go to patreon.com/Emil Amok, EMIL AMOK, and then you'll get it. And let's see. And then, I'll post like a freebie on Emil Amok's Takeout wherever you podcast, but it'll be like a 15-minute Emil Amok or 10-minute Emil Amok, something like that. But the long version will be on Patreon. So all this is happening because my dear friend Margaret Fung is leaving AALDEF. She's retiring. And you'd think after 50 years, a woman deserves to retire. Well, I don't think she does. She's done a lot for the community, a lot for Asian Americans. And, but, new ED, the organization is going, doing different things. And so I'm moving my column to Patreon. I mean, the old columns will be there on the AALDEF site, but the new columns, like I said, you can get them on Substack if you're a reader. And if you like to see me read my columns and explain what I mean, sort of an annotated Emil. The annotated Emil will be only on Patreon at patreon.com/Emil Amok. So there, two ways to enjoy Emil Amok, Emil Amok's Takeout. You get it on Patreon, or let's see, get on Patreon, or you get it on Substack. Let me show Substack here. Substack again. Get it here on Substack. And, like I said, if you're a reader, you say, oh, I think I want to see Emil on Substack. So substack.com @Emil Amok. Subscribe to Emil Amok's newsletter. You get the column. You read it yourself. But you say, it's missing that juice, that Emilness. And I got to hear him annotate his column for me on video. I got to see him read it aloud. And that's when you say, oh, by golly, I have to go to here. I got to go to Patreon. Because here, if you subscribe, you can also hear me read and perform my column and annotate it and say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I meant to say, or whatever. So all sorts of ways to get Emil. If you subscribe, you'll see all the different tiers in which you get things. If you join, you get the annotated, my read. If you become a higher level, you get the whole podcast on video. These things that I do, I'm going to put them all on Patreon. And then if you want to know about my shows, if you want to know about my laughter yogi stuff, where we laugh like there's no tomorrow. We laugh like we don't care about anything. Patreon. Go to Patreon. I'm part of this whole laughter yogi network, and we just laugh like there's no tomorrow. We laugh like there's, really, what I like about the laughter yogi thing is it's unconditional laughter. It's like we laugh and we don't wait for the bad joke. We don't wait for the good joke. We just laugh. As I was telling my friends in Vegas, laughter yoga is, you tell a joke and someone says, why did the chicken cross the road? And, you're waiting for the punchline. You don't have to wait for the punchline. You just laugh. Actually, the punchline in Las Vegas, why did the chicken cross the road? The punchline is to get to the better chicken hookers. Emil, did you say chicken hookers? I get, yeah, I said chicken hookers. That deserves a swish. Anyway, laughter yoga is something that I've just picked up. I'm a certified laughter yogi, and I can help you. Because here's the thing about laughter yoga. It works. When I went to Las Vegas, I participated in this comedy festival, the World Series of Comedy. Oh, Emil, you're with Kevin Hart or with Carrot Top? No. Well, you were there with let's see, name a famous comedian, Jackie Cation or Laurie Kilmer. No. It's called the World Series of Comedy, but it's really a competition among the bat boys. And so we were there swinging our bats. There were some women there too. One really funny woman, I think she's out of Detroit, Asia Chardonnay, very funny. African-American comic, very funny. But I wasn't in the competition so much as I was there to perform. We had a midnight show, performed great. I killed the people who were alive. I killed the rest of the people. Well, if they didn't have a pulse, you just sort of moved on. But it was fun. I loved being there. And so I was in Vegas. I'm here now. And now I'm sorting out what is next for Emil Amok and Emil Amok Patreon. Sign up at patreon.com/EMILAMOK and figure out which tier you'd like to get Emil Amokness. Because I will continue to do these 2:00 what's happening in the news, but I'll keep them to like 10 minutes. And then you'll have to go to the Patreon to get the full what Emil really thinks. And let's see. So we have that. And then once again, and I do this because I want to be thorough. Now, I don't necessarily want to be boring, but for those of you who are just readers, you'll say, hey, I liked your columns on the AALDEF blog and I want to subscribe, but how do I do that? Well, all right. Once they're on Patreon, they'll get early access. I'll stick columns that would have been on the AALDEF site on Emil Amok, Emil Amok's newsletter on Substack. And once again, Substack is substack.com/@Emil Amok. So there's the how to get a hold of me, how to see me do my thing at some point, however you like me, read, you want me reading to you, you want my podcast, you want my YouTube stuff, you want this stuff, you want live, also laughter yoga, as well as you want to talk about veganism. Lots on the veganism front these days. And I'm convinced now. I'm convinced that eating is not that great. Is not that great for you. Because you tend to overeat. So what can you do? The solution is you eat less. I mean, I think this is something instinctively that older people, like myself, that we find out that eating is overrated. And I don't mean to sound like an anorexic here, but I mean to say that, eating is kind of addictive and you just start eating. But if you get used to eating less of the right foods, that's kind of your pathway. And if you use veganism as your way, I only eat vegan food, you'll feel better. You want to feel, I mean, ultimately, that's the thing, right? You want to feel better. You don't want to feel like a gourmand, eating excessively, because not only will you feel good, based on taste buds and all that, but eating excessively also tends to lead to some kind of decline in health if you eat the wrong foods. And I experienced this I had a vegan burrito. They bragged, oh, we have vegan burritos, we use vegan cheese, we use vegan sour cream. And of course, if you're going to charge $17 for a burrito, even in the Central Valley, my God, it's got to be a big burrito, right? And so I ate this burrito, which is as big as a basketball shoe. It's a huge. And I'm eating it, and I'm thinking, it's good, it's soft, and I get, don't go above medium on the hot stuff, and it just sort of flows, and you're eating it, and then, oh my God, I got to digest this thing. I just collapsed. I had to go to sleep, and then I wake up at 2:30 in the morning saying, what happened? I'm sleeping in my clothes. What the hell happened to me? I had a vegan burrito. Oh my God, they're the friendly ones. They're the ones you want to eat. But what's wrong with me? And I just, that's when I realized the less you eat, the better. The less you eat, the better. So I'm, I offer that if you become a Patreon at patreon.com/Emil Amok. I'll do sessions on eating. I'm a certified vegan, certified through the T. Colin Campbell Institute. We can talk about veganism, talk about food, talk about what you can do, how to be just a better, not necessarily a better person. We know you're a better person already, but, we just tell you what to eat. Also, places that I discovered where you can eat. When I do my little travels, I like to go to vegan restaurants. And if I find one that's particularly good, or if I have a vegan food tip, I'll pass it on. So things like that. And then, of course, the laughter yoga, because laughter yoga is fun. Laughter yoga is fun. Hey, you notice I got my, let's see if I can adjust this. I got my vote. I want you all to vote. And we're down to it. Not necessarily the final days, but I think we got about a month or so. You got to think vote. And some people already can't vote. So there's the V. The V is in the form of some books, right? Because we got to educate ourselves. The O is a fist, circle and fist. That T caught my eye. That's not a ram's head or a longhorn. That's a uterus. That's a uterus. A T as a uterus, or a uterus as a T, that's important, because this is a boy-girl election. And, with allies joining the girls. I just think when I saw that, I said, man, that's, and women know instinctively what that is, right? I thought, is that like a Texas Longhorn? No, Emil, that's a uterus. Oh yeah, of course it is. See, and this is my thing about most males. Most males do not study biology. They know intimately female parts, perhaps, but they're totally ignorant about female parts like the uterus. They just are. They just know, oh, down there. Oh, you mean Australia? No, down there. Oh, and you know why? They're ignorant because all they do is watch pornography. Now, my the good thing about me is I was never a big porn fan. I was, not that I was too cheap, but we don't have. I didn't grow up during that video era where it was all always available on the phones. I grew up in the Blockbuster era where you had to go behind the curtain in the corner there and find out what people really wanted to see at night. And I didn't even go that often. So I guess you might say I'm a magazine guy. And that was enough, right? But still, they don't really teach you about feminine parts. I mean, you don't know the feminine parts. So and it wasn't until this year when I met one of my fellow fringe festers. Her name is Vulva Vavoom, stage name. But in my heart, that was her real name. So I'm talking to Vulva. I'm saying, Vulva, I appreciate you calling yourself that because it's made me realize how ignorant I've been about female body parts. I mean, I wish I knew more. And it encouraged me to go and find out more about female body parts. And darn it, I practically have a PhD. I mean, they gave me credit for my past work history. You got 3 kids, you had 2 wives. I mean, it's got to count for something. But that's the vulva. Oh, it's like the whole erotic campus right there, all there. It's wonderful. So anyway, the T is the uterus, and then the E for Emil. No, the E is for, what is the E? E is for everyone. I don't know. Vote, VOTE. Remember to vote. It'll be good for you. God, this weekend was pretty grim, I think. Well, first of all, before we get into the election and that news, can we just talk about how grateful we all are? If you're safe, you have electricity, you got a roof over your head, you're not soggy, wet. You're free from hurricane damage and flood damage. You got to be grateful for that. And you have to extend some love and prayers and hope to all those who were less fortunate and just had to face the hurricane through the weekend. We knew that Florida would be bad, but it wasn't until the hurricane moved, on the surface and went above and into the Carolinas and Virginia. They're saying at least 121 people are dead. I've heard numbers as high as 130. That number's irrelevant because it's going to go higher. But this is where we just have to understand that we're all in this together as Americans. And I think this is good that this comes at a time when we are about 30 so days away from an election. In North Carolina, Trump is a 2-point lead. And I asked North Carolinians and everyone else, who would you rather have there to comfort you or to give you a sense that you're not alone and that the United States is going to take care of you? The United States has your back. FEMA is going to be there. We're going to help you rebuild. Who would you like to hear that reassurance from? The man who's convicted of more than 34 felony counts, the man who was twice impeached, the man who lies, the man who called his opponent, Vice President Harris, mentally impaired over the weekend. Who would you rather see come to you and say, we're here to help? I mean, oddly, the 45th president, the twice impeached 45th president, is leading in North Carolina by about 2 points. I last saw in the latest polls on realclearpolling.com. And I know I'd rather have Kamala Harris come to me and say, hey, we're going to take care of this. I mean, I think it's pretty clear, just judging from the kind of people, the kind of person who emerges in the campaigns. And if you haven't seen, just Google Trump bad-mouthing Harris this weekend, calling her mentally disabled, mentally impaired. I mean, just as a slur. It's a slur against not just Harris, it's a slur against all disabled people. It's a slur against people of color. This is how the convicted former president, convicted felon Donald Trump, CFDT, this is how he looks at people he disagrees with. He'll tear you apart. He'll rip you up. He'll lie. He'll do everything that a president or a man who should be, he's former president. He should have a sense of grace, a sense of something, right? He has nothing. He has none of the things that we want in a president, past, present, or future. And he wants to be president again. So I'm just sad about the people in North Carolina. I was watching local news in North Carolina. You could do that on, go to Roku, It's just sad because you don't get the full impact of what's happening in Asheville. I had my family knows someone in Asheville. They're okay, but they've got a little farm, worried about the animals. They're trying to find a generator. They've got no water. They've got very little power. They were able to get cell phone service, but the ticker says assume all roads are damaged and closed in North Carolina. I mean, this is where you need a federal government. There's a lot of people out there who like small government. Well, think about this situation here. This is when you need big G government. This is where the safety net's there. Because if you don't have big G government ready to pitch in, what do you have? You got to rely on people you can't rely on, like convicted felon Donald Trump, 34. I mean, he's in Mar-a-Lago, wherever he is. Is he thinking about you? Look at his past performance. Look at how he treated the people in Puerto Rico. Showing up because he had to, because it was a photo op, throwing T-shirts and toilet paper at people. That the kind of guy you want? The kind of person who should be president? You want someone who cares. You want someone who's compassionate, but also is tough. A lot of people think, oh, Kamala Harris, she's so liberal. She's soft on crime. Kamala Harris is not soft on crime. Kamala Harris is a badass. Just look at their stories in the New York Times. People who knew her as an attorney general. People who knew her as an AG. And as a district attorney in San Francisco. Kamala Harris, tough but compassionate, but tough on crime. You know, she may have if you're a Trump supporter, she may have enough of the good things about Trump in her. I mean, toughness on crime, Kamala Harris. No nonsense. And she doesn't lie. You say, oh, come on, she's flip-flopped to me. No. Not compared to the way Donald Trump is flip-flopped. Not compared. Really, Kamala Harris is not a liar compared to Donald Trump. So I think you got to worry about that. Got to worry also about the dark side of Trump. Really, I can't believe in Wisconsin, he said, Joe Biden became mentally impaired, he said. He said, Kamala, still says Kamala. Kamala is, for some people, the new N-word. Kamala, it's Kamala. Get it grammatically correct. It's Kamala. Kamala. Trump said, Kamala was born that way, mentally impaired. She was born that way. And if you think about it, only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country. Got to work in my Trump. Got to work in my Trump. They're eating dogs. They're eating cats. They're mentally impaired. They're eating dogs. They're eating cats. That's how you know, like a vocalist uses scales. They're eating dogs. They're eating cats. So here's why it matters. Why this matters? Because Axios talked to Doris Kearns Goodwin, whose latest book, The Leadership Journey, How 4 Kids Became President. And she talks about Trump's latest claims in the news. She says that calling Kamala Harris mentally impaired is even beyond the pale for him. What is more disturbing is that it will now be taken as a matter of course, demonstrating we've become inured to his degrading language. And I've often used the term inured, the word inured. Inured means to have been sort of like used to, right? We're used to it. We're like we've been inoculated to not be offended. You know, we're inured. We're used to it. The fact that she used inured, it was interesting because I've been using inured ever since I first heard Donald Trump. Now, here's a presidential historian saying, wow, can we expect this from all presidential candidates from here on? Because Trump just spoiled it for everyone? Doris Kearns Goodwin said, think back to 2015. In the very early days of his first campaign when he said John McCain was not a war hero because he was captured. The New York Post predicted that his campaign would implode. The front page headline declared, Trump is toast, Don voyage. And did it? I mean, this is the thing. Every time you think that, oh, this is so bad, he survives. And it's because we just keep upping the ante for him. And then he gets away with it, which is just plain wrong. The Harris campaign, highlighting Trump's comment that he was giving a dark speech, said he gave a gloomy review of his angry, rambling diatribe. The Harris folks trying to be, above it all. And they can, but here's the thing. Trump gets away with it. He keeps saying it. People believe it. And you start seeing, like when I was in Vegas this past week, I kept asking all my Lyft drivers, gonna vote? And they all start the same way. Well, I hate both of them. That's how you say it. I hate both of them. But if I'm gonna choose, I mean, no one ever said, I gotta like Trump. I'm Trump. But they would always say, I hate both of them, but I'm gonna vote for Trump. I asked black guys, Hispanic guys, white women. They all said to the one, all the Lyft drivers in my Lyft driver focus group, they all said we're voting for Trump. One black guy was so enraged that someone, a previous writer, had left a Trump sign. He, at a stop sign, he took the sign from the back seat and ripped it up. He said, I don't care about that. He was angry. When I asked them why, they said the same thing. In Nevada, it's all about the money. You know, if you're driving Lyft, it's not because you like it. It's because you need to make ends meet. On my last day, I get one Lyft driver, an Hispanic guy. I asked him, who's he going to vote for? And of course he starts off saying, I don't like anybody, but I'm voting for her. I'm voting for her. First time, I'm voting for her. And that's the way you got to look at it. This is her election. You vote for her, you get that uterus sign, or you vote for the a-hole. I don't think we need an a-hole. I think we will have a kinder, gentler, more effective, more efficient nation. I think. Let's see. Got 30 days to go over. I mean, either you've already made up your mind. Well, here's what I hear. People have already made up their mind on Trump. They know what they're getting. They're not sure what they're getting with Harris. What you should know about Harris is that there are some liberals, myself included, who don't like her all that much. I mean, we like her enough, but not all that much. But compared to Trump, of course, we like her. And I'm just saying, I can't believe there are people who, given all that's out there, and after this weekend, still hold out the fantasy that Trump is this guy. It is a fantasy. If you're rational and if you match it up, this should not be a toss-up. This should not be a 50-50 situation. It should be like California, where Kamala Harris is like 40 points above Trump. And the fact that the rest of the country isn't 40 points above, Harris was 40 points above Trump, means I can't move anywhere else. That's what it means. I can't move anywhere else. What's disappointing, though, is that I read James Carville is saying Democrats should prepare. He says Democrats should prepare for autocracy. What does that mean? That means you're watching out, looking over your shoulder. You're not speaking freely because someone wants to jail journalists. Someone wants to jail anyone who is not in with the MAGA crowd. And you've seen some of the things now. Trump now openly embraces Project 2025. It's happening. I mean, it was just a lie to say that he knew nothing about Project 2025. He knows. He's going to put the guy who wrote it, in his cabinet. And what are they going to lean on? They've already written how on the first days what they're going to do. I mean, so you have to say, oh, they're ready. They know what they're going to do. And what they're doing is not good for democracy. If you don't think Kamala Harris, this was in the New York Times a week ago. Harris, ruthless on hard crime as a prosecutor. She granted leniency in less serious cases. And this is, I'll just read the first 3 graphs. From the moment that Kamala Harris took her place among 57 counterparts, at the 2004 California District Attorneys Association annual conference. It was an open question how, if at all, the first Black, Asian American, and female DA in the state's history would fit in. Ms. Harris, whose mother was Indian, whose father is Jamaican American, did not even blend in back home in liberal San Francisco County's law enforcement circles. The county had never before elected a woman, a Black person, or an Asian American as its district attorney, much less all three at the same time. She was equally rare nationwide. When Ms. Harris won in December 2003, she became one of only 3 elected Black district attorneys in the entire country. They looked at her like she had 4 heads, said Deborah Meslow, Ms. Harris's communications director at the time, about her appearance a month later at the district attorney's conference in Santa Barbara. It was an organization of mostly older Caucasian Republican men, said Gilbert Otero, the former district attorney of Imperial County. So this is the thing. Kamala Harris has always been breaking the mold, but even in that New York Times article, people don't know what to think. What to think is she's fair, she's tough on crime, but she's fair, and she's not a liar. Not a liar. I've got my beef with her on some things, but you compare her to Donald Trump, no contest. No contest at all. So I promised myself to keep these YouTube things short because I'm going to give more time to I'm going to put them on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. These podcasts, free-willing podcasts. They're not going to be available anywhere else. You can't get them where you podcast. You got to get them on Patreon. And I may put a version of Emil Amok's Takeout wherever you podcast, but it'll just be a tease to go to Patreon to get the real goods. So once again, this is all happening because I am taking my column out of the AALDEF site, aaldef.org/blog. It's genial. I mean, I've been there 14 years, and now they want to do different things with the site. So I'm taking my Emil Amok columns. Actually, the Emil Amok columns that have always been there will be there, and you can access them there until further notice. But the new columns that were on the AALDEF site are going to a new place. They're going to, let's see, where is that? They're going to Substack. All right, let me do this. So go to Substack.com. Here we are again. So sorry about that. I wanted to show you that. All right, I'm not going to try to show it to you. Go to Patreon. if you want me to read my column to you, you can get the column at a certain level, and I'll read it to you, and then you'll get the full Emil Amok webcast at a different tier. But go to Patreon, patreon.com/Emil Amok. Sign up there. And then for those readers of the column on the AALDEF site, just go to Substack, Substack, substack.com/@EMILAMOK, and sign up for Emil Amok's newsletter. And there you'll get the column. I think it's free there. But I don't read it to you. Some people like that. All right. So one more column for the AALDEF blog tomorrow. And then, it's birthday month. Also, it's Filipino American History Month. But first we honor the colonizer, the 1st through the 15th. And then from the 15th on, it's Filipino American History Month, October 15th through the 30th. We get 2 weeks. That's October. All right, so all that coming up. And then if you're watching this on YouTube is just going to be a live tease. I'll come on at 2 o'clock, boom, and I'll do it live. And I'll say, join me on Patreon. I'll be there in a second. And that's how we do it. Okay? All right. Swish us in and out. Okay. Hey, thank you for joining me. We're going to do some laughter yoga. I promised some laughter yoga. Okay. So here's the thing about laughter yoga. It's laughter independent of comedy. It's just laugh for laugh's sake. Come on, try. All right, here. And we'll come back tomorrow and we'll do more. The key is, can you laugh for a minute straight? A minute straight. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Seconds. That was a minute one. See what happens? It's like the oxygen goes through your body and it just starts going through the entire body and to your brain, and serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, it's all set off, and people who do it feel energized, they feel enlivened, they feel healthier. But you got to laugh for a minute straight, for about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And then you find that it's a workout. I mean, I did this with people in Las Vegas when I was there, and they said, after a minute, I mean, they were out of gas. You got to learn how to breathe. Now, here's one thing I learned. If you breathe through your left nostril and then exhale out your right, it sets off nitric oxide into the blood. It makes your blood vessels dilate and get bigger, so that it improves your blood flow. So little things like that. And then how you breathe, like breathing from the diaphragm, really from the belly up, and then letting go through the mouth. That will help expand the lungs and help get the good air in and the old air out, and the oxygenation process cycles and loops, and you feel the difference. This is laughter yogi. I'm a yoga rather. I'm the yogi. This is the yoga. I swear, I've learned so much becoming a certified laughter yogi, and I'll share some of my tips. This is one of the biggest tips, though. The nitric oxide, not nitrous, nitric oxide, by snorting left side in, exhaling out right nostril. So in, out, in on the left side, out on the right side. Just doing that helps dilate the endothelial lining, expands it, increases blood flow to the heart, to the body. I'm telling you, I'm a believer, and we'll end every exercise with a little laughter yoga. All right, that's good. And then, of course, we'll end with a little traditional meditation, because meditation really has saved me. So, a little loving kindness. We need that. Remembering the people, the Carolinas, people in Florida. They need help. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil here. Don't forget to check out the Substack and also the Patreon as we move away from the AALDEF site for new things. I think the old things will be up there. But as we move away from posting there, Substack, Patreon, check it out. Amok, Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Vote!